There are a lot of things people, including Magic fans, think about the Orlando Magic that just aren't true. Breaking down Orlando Magic myths and why they may not tell the whole story today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is September 1st. It will be September 2nd, 2024. Officially 1 month away from the opening of training camp. We're almost here. We'll get to so much today on Locked On Magic. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OND. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, we're going to break down a few myths about the Orlando Magic and why they might not be as real as you think. We're going to talk about that, how Magic improve and break some of the storylines about them coming up here in just a moment. First, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, there's a great Locked On podcast covering every single team in the NBA. Just search for Locked On and the team you're looking for, the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Game time. Okay. There's not a lot of people that have watched the Orlando Magic. And as we look at how the national media is talking about the Magic, as we even talk about the Magic amongst ourselves, there are certain storylines that always seem to pop up. I'm going to break down a few of them here and tell you why these storylines are based in a little bit of fact, but also aren't so truthful about this team as you might think. There is a lot to break down about this Magic team, and there's obviously a lot that is interesting about this Magic team. So let's start with myth number one, something that we have talked about so much during the course of the summer. Paolo Banchero is inefficient. It's actually been one of the big debates about the Orlando Magic, really about the Magic's future prospects. And I'm not going to deny this. This is going to be a central story in this team's development because as a team, you go as far as your star takes you. And so the first place to start is with your star. And I did a whole episode on this earlier in the summer. A lot of the conversation about Paolo Banchero and just how good he can be, it's really box score watching. I think the Paolo Banchero is an efficient take is very much the take of someone who is just looking at box scores and looking to poke holes in Paolo Banchero. Again, there's people, there are people that say, oh, Scotty Barnes is a better player. Scotty Barnes is more well-rounded, but not nearly the scorer as Paolo Banchero, not nearly asked to do the things that Paolo Banchero is doing. They will say, oh, Jalen Williams is a better player. Jalen Williams, significantly more efficient. Not going to sit here and deny that. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the guy. It's the same thing with Chet Holmgren. The fact of the matter is, at 21 years old, in his second season in the NBA, Paolo Banchero was the best player, the unquestioned best player on a team that won 47 games and made the playoffs. The fact that we're not hyping this kid up more nationally is scary. And the fact of the matter is, all the real hoopers know. All the real hoopers believe that Paolo Banchero is that dude. You listen to the Paul Pierce podcast. You listen to the basketball people, not the analytics people. They will say Paolo's really, really good. Now, I'm an analytics person. I do believe numbers mean something. I do believe numbers tell us something. But you do have to look at the numbers in context of their role. Paolo Banchero is double-teamed as much as any player in the league. I believe he's top 5 in the league in the amount of times he's double-teamed. He is asked to take the difficult shots. In fact, the whole debate and the whole reason why the Magic took Paolo with that number 1 pick over Chet Holmgren, over Jabari Smith Jr., is because he is the guy capable of taking and making the star-level shots. Frankly, I thought the playoffs put all this to rest because the playoffs showed us what Paolo Banchero can do. Now, here are his numbers. He averaged 20 points per game his rookie season, 22.6 points per game. His second season stepped it up to 27 points per game in the playoffs. He's a raw numbers darling. But not a great shooter. 42.7, 29.8, 73.8 splits his rookie year. 45.5, 33.9, 72.5 splits his second year. So both field goal percentage and three-point percentage went up. The playoffs, he was 45.6, 40, 75.5. I know that's a small sample against one opponent, but to do that in the playoffs is still pretty darn impressive. Frankly, everybody that they have tried to compare Paolo Banchero to and say, he's not as good as this player because of his inefficiency, they're not really his peers. And that's been a point I've been trying to make. No offense to Scotty Barnes. Really good player. I really like him. I will even entertain the argument that Scotty Barnes works better on a championship team as a second or third option, whereas Paolo Banchero is the number one option. I will concede that point to you that Paolo is the number one option and that is his role. And the Magic are fully invested in that idea. Banchero is not comparable to these players. Last year, Banchero averaged 17.6 field goal attempts per game with a star level 29.7% usage rate. Jalen Williams, for instance, averaged only 14 field goal attempts per game with a 23.7% usage rate. It's a lot easier to be efficient when you have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander setting you up, who's setting up Paolo Banchero. Paolo Banchero is. Similarly, Scotty Barnes, 15.7 field goal attempts per game with a 24.8% usage rate. And if you look at his numbers after the trade of OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam, his efficiency went way down. Quite simply, Paolo Banchero has so much more responsibility. To judge him on the efficiency scale is a little unfair to him, especially the way that they try to argue it. Now, should Paolo Banchero be more efficient? Absolutely. It is the key to his success. Him being more efficient, knowing when to pass the ball, when to shoot the ball, what the right shot to take is, what a good shot is. That's been the point of these early seasons that he's had, is to learn this stuff so that he can be a better, more efficient player. He's got to be efficient like Kevin Durant's efficient, like Luka Doncic is efficient. And those guys are very, very efficient. Do not get me wrong. Paolo's got a level he's got to get up to. But those who want to argue that Paolo Banchero is inefficient and that is a reason to throw him out with the bathwater or not to consider him among the top young players in the league, those are the people that aren't watching. Because yes, Paolo does still need to know what a good shot is and how and when to take a good shot. But guess what? The Magic are happy to go through the growing pains right now. The Magic aren't, they're getting closer to winning a title. And for sure, if the Orlando Magic want to be a top 4 seed in the East, if the Magic want to advance to the second round, if the Magic want to compete for the Eastern Conference Finals this year, Paolo Banchero's got to be more efficient. He's got to elevate his game, and efficiency is absolutely the next level for him to elevate. But Banchero improved his efficiency last year. Within this role, within this very usage-heavy role, which is very difficult to have the levels of efficiency that his critics seem to want, Paolo Banchero is getting better. And obviously, at the end of the day, the only stat that matters is wins. The Magic won 47 games last year with Paolo Banchero as their best player. The Magic got to Game 7, had a very, he had an incredible Game 7. You want to talk about inefficiency? Paolo Banchero had an incredibly efficient Game 7, considering everything on his shoulders and the struggles that everyone else was having in that game. He carried the Magic to a lead and really within a half of getting to the second round. At the end of the day, that's the kind of player this Magic team needs. They need that ultimate creator. And maybe there'll be problems. Maybe this will be an issue as the Magic continue to expand, continue to grow, as the Magic's ambitions get greater. But for now, Paolo Banchero is as efficient as he needs to be for this team to be successful. And as he gets better and gets more efficient, because I get tired of hearing everyone talk about Paolo like he's some finished product. He's not. He's still 21 years old and getting a whole lot better. As he gets more efficient, as his decision-making, especially his turnovers, improve, the Magic will become a better team. And obviously, Paolo Banchero will join the ranks of the all-NBA players that I think we will see him join here if not next year, the year after. It's coming very, very quickly. I hinted at turnovers. Let's talk about one of the other big myths about the Orlando Magic. The big one that I think you'll be surprised to hear is not really as big of an issue as you might think. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Gametime. Look, we are in college football season. UCF plays Sam Houston State on Saturday night. We've got a lot to get to, a lot to be excited about, a lot of fun coming down the pike here in Central Florida, all leading up to the start of Magic season coming up in a month. And if you want to go to some great live events like Orlando City, Orlando Pride Games, the big soccer match coming up here this week, events at the Kia Center, events at the Dr. Phillips Center, Gametime has you covered with the best tickets in town. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. There are so many great events. The Orlando Pride have a huge game coming up in the next few weeks against the Kansas City Current. They'll be in the playoffs soon. Orlando City will be in the playoffs soon. The Orlando Magic will be back soon. Get your tickets now on Gametime. Or even better, wait, because Gametime gives you so many great last-minute deals. I'm always checking out concerts. I love going to shows. Gametime is where I go to make sure I am getting the best price for every ticket I buy. Gametime has so many great features, including the all-in pricing feature. If you toggle this feature, it shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. You do have to actively toggle it, but they give you that upfront price so you're not hit with any hidden fees. They also give you the 3D seat view, the digital seat view, so you know exactly what the seat's going to look like and what your view of the stage or the view of the court is going to look like when you get to your seat. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. We want to thank you for making Locked On Magic your first listen of the day. For your next listen, enjoy the Locked On NBA podcast. There is no offseason in the NBA, and Locked On NBA provides daily basketball analysis from national and local experts in 30 minutes or less. No one keeps you as informed and entertained as Locked On NBA. It's available on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So let's talk about the big myth. I am ready to talk about the big myth. This is actually one that I am mildly obsessed with and mildly obsessed with debunking. I know Jeff Weltman is very obsessed with debunking this myth, so let's talk about it. The Orlando Magic cannot shoot threes. Everyone knows this. Everyone acknowledges this. I'll acknowledge it. Shooting is the biggest concern for this Orlando Magic team. Last year, they were 29th in the league in three-point attempts per game. They were 22nd in the league, or 23rd or 4th in the league in three-point field goal percentage. Simply not good enough. It is hard to be a bad three-point shooting team and a low-volume three-point shooting team. You add Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, you keep Gary Harris. That should add some more attempts to the mix. Should add a lot of things. But Jeff Weltman, Magic finished 24th. I have it written down here. 24th in three-point field goal percentage. Jeff Weltman, the day after Game 7, though, gave us this little stat nugget and gave us a little something to think about. So last year, the Magic finished 29th in the league with 31.33 three-point attempts per game and 24th with a 35.2 three-point field goal percentage. So those are your numbers. After January 1st, the Magic actually shot 36.3% from three, which was 15th in the league. So again, that shows you that, okay, you shot 35.2%, but another 1.5 percentage points and you're about league average. Magic shot 32.1 attempts per game after January 1st as well, 27th in the league. So very low volume three-point shooting team. Still, I think that's the bigger problem than the shooting. But that gives you some food for thought, perhaps. The Magic's percentage jumped up something not insignificant. You know, they were not a bad three-point shooting team over the last half of the season. Now, they struggled in the playoffs. Not going to deny that. But they were a solid three-point shooting team. And if they could somehow increase their volume, which Kentavious Caldwell-Pope may or may not help with that, playing Jett Howard certainly might, playing Gary Harris off the bench certainly might. There are some signs maybe that the Magic could be a better three-point shooting team, but this is the point that I want to make. The Magic making more threes didn't actually change their offensive rating. For the whole season, the Magic finished 22nd in the league with a 112.9 offensive rating. After January 1st, the Magic finished 21st in the league with a 112.9 offensive rating. Three-point shooting is a problem. I'm not denying that. They hopefully solve some of it with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Hopefully Anthony Black will continue to be more aggressive looking for his shot. Hopefully Franz Wagner's percentage jumps up a little bit. Hopefully Paolo Banchero's percentage continues to jump up a little bit. Hopefully Jalen Suggs stays the same percentage. Taking Markelle Fultz out of the lineup is going to improve the Magic's three-point field goal percentage. But at the end of the day, for what the team was last year, three-point shooting didn't actually improve the team's offense, or at least statistically didn't improve the team's offense. Again, I would say the issue is not their percentage. They could shoot that crummy percentage, but on a higher volume, they will do better. At the end of the day, it's the raw three-pointers that are going in. That's the problem, not anything else. They need to make more threes just to make more threes. They don't need more threes because that actually helps their offense. They just need to be a better threat from three. The real problem with the Magic's offense, I would argue, is their turnovers. The problem for the Magic is not that they don't shoot enough threes. It's not that necessarily that they make enough threes. I think the problem is they don't shoot enough threes more than they make enough threes. It's not that they don't make enough threes. It's that they give away too many possessions due to turnovers. Last year, the Magic were bottom 5 in the league in turnover rate. They turned the ball over a ton. It was like 15%. And that gutted their offense. You can't score if you don't have the opportunity to score. And the turnovers were a huge issue. They were an issue in the playoffs too. This is where the team's immaturity probably displayed itself most, in that the Magic have to do a better job protecting the ball. The Magic have to be a team that values possessions. They play at a slow pace, so every possession counts a little bit more for them. And so this year, I'm expecting the Magic's off. I will say it flat out here. I said it last summer. I'll say it again this summer. This is the year the Magic streak ends. This is the year the Magic get out of the bottom 10 in offensive rating for the first time since Dwight Howard. They're going to score better because they will commit fewer turnovers. I firmly believe that the Magic are going to be a better team simply because they're going to mature. They're going to grow up. They're going to make fewer of these critical mistakes, even though they don't have a true point guard, even though they're still very, very young. They'll make fewer of these mistakes. And really, frankly, I don't think the Magic are going to be a real threat to to go deep in the playoffs until they correct these turnover problems. Once they stop turning the ball over, that's when they'll start competing at a higher level, because Boston doesn't commit a lot of turnovers. These top teams don't make mistakes unless they're elite at something else. To that point, the Magic's defense gets a lot of those turnovers back. The turnover rate differential is not very bad. The Magic were one of the best teams at forcing turnovers last year. It's part of who their defensive identity is. So just think of all the extra possessions the Magic would have if they're forcing turnovers at a high rate and not turning the ball over as much. I want to repeat this point. Three-point shooting is really important, and the turnovers and the three-point shooting are related. Probably a lot of these turnovers are coming because defenses are not scared of the Magic's three-point shooting. And so they're sitting in passing lanes. They're clogging the paint. They're making decisions and passing angles difficult. Orlando has to take more threes. They have to be a greater threat from three. And as we saw after January 1st, the Magic can make three-pointers at a higher rate. They can be a more effective three-point shooting team. To me, the issue is volume. They're not shooting enough threes, and they got to find a way to create more threes. And hopefully Kentavious Caldwell-Pope helps. Hopefully Franz Wagner gets better. Hopefully Paolo Banchero is better. Hopefully the Magic have more three-point threats. That will be a key to this upcoming season. But I don't think the Magic's biggest offensive problem is necessarily their three-point shooting. It's the interplay of that three-point shooting, perhaps with turnovers. Eliminate turnovers. Those threes will come. You'll get more possessions. You'll score more points. You'll get to the foul line more. You'll do all the things that you do well already. It's not about three-point shooting. It's about the whole picture and valuing each possession, whether that's getting a three or getting to the basket. The Magic can make threes. They can be a dangerous three-point shooting team. And I think that's something that is going to play out over the course of the season. We'll see how it does. Another question that I see a lot of people have about the Magic's defense, one question that I've honestly had as well. We'll talk about the other stat defensively that could hold the Magic back, but may not be. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at BetterHelp. Look, we all have difficult moments in our lives, moments when we need to talk to someone, moments when we need to get something off our chest. We're always trying to be better. We're always trying to deal with intense emotions throughout the course of our lives and throughout the course of our day. It's usually just very good to have an outlet, to have a safe space to get all of these emotions, get all of these thoughts on the table. It's really about protecting yourself too. It's about giving yourself the space to feel what you're feeling and have a kind listening ear to help you out and help you see clearly the problems in front of you. Therapy is truly something that can be so beneficial. I've used therapy throughout many moments in my life to help deal with problems and emotional problem issues that I've had throughout the course of my life. I cannot recommend having that safe space that is really all about you and having the right person listening, encouraging, asking tough questions, making you really think about yourself, your relationships, how you interact with the world. It can be cleansing, quite frankly. It's so good. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Rediscover your curiosity and rediscover yourself with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. The Orlando Magic have a great defense. They got one of the three best defensive backcourts in the league in all likelihood. They've got a lot working for them. Yet, there's a lot of people who are questionable about the Magic's defense and really about one aspect of the Magic's defense, and that is their rim protection. Yes, Jonathan Isaac is a crazy good shot blocker, but Wendell Carter is a player that a lot of people have questions about. And I'll admit, I've had these questions too. It's really about the fact that he plays a little bit below the rim. He is a position center. He's not coming in flying to block shots. And obviously he's coming off a really, really poor season. And so some of the thought is then that the Magic don't have good rim protection. They finished third in the league in defensive rating, so maybe it's not so important. They only gave up 100 points per 100 possessions in their playoff series with the Cavs. Maybe it's not that big of a deal. Or maybe it is. Or maybe it's a little bit more nuanced than that. The Orlando Magic were pretty good last year. They were 13th in the league last year with 5.2 blocks per game and 12th in the league, giving up 64.1% shooting at the rim, according to data from Second Spectrum. Orlando gave up the 9th fewest field goal attempts per game inside of 5 feet at 27.9 per game and gave up 63.5% shooting within 5 feet. That was also 12th in the league. For a Magic team that is third in the league in defensive rating and one of the best defensive teams in the league, this is certainly an area that is a little bit of a weakness. I'm not going to sit here and deny that. They are not a shot blocking team. They do their work early before you get to the paint. They prevent you even from getting to the paint. And when you get there, they challenge your shots really, really well. Wendell Carter, for his part, gave up only 58.4% shooting at the rim, which was worse than it was 2 years ago, but still not a bad number last year. He trailed only Jonathan Isaac and Goga Bitadze among regular rotation Magic players. And Goga Bitadze, of course, was in and out of the rotation throughout the year. I want to note this. Yes, the Magic's interior defense can improve. Paolo Banchero being the 4, not particularly a great shot blocker or paint defender, does put a lot of pressure on Wendell Carter to man the paint. And the Magic don't have a Rudy Gobert style or even a Bam Adebayo style shot blocker roaming the paint and kind of trying and erasing mistakes. That's not the Magic style of defense. They beat you at the point of attack. Jalen Suggs, now Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and even Franz Wagner are out there to keep guards from getting downhill, to really keep anyone from even getting in the paint. And they use some aggressive switching and aggressive rotating to prevent passes to the roll man. The Magic do their work to prevent shots at the rim to begin with. That is the goal of their defense. But this is an area that the Magic do need to improve. The Magic do need to get stops at the rim. The Magic do need someone who can erase these mistakes, that can make plays at the basket. In some respects, this is the one myth that I will say, not as real as people think, but it is a real issue. And it is something that could very well hold the Magic back. Of course, the issue is, how do you solve that? Because Wendell Carter does a lot of really good things for the Magic, especially on offense, and his ability to work the perimeter a little bit, and even defensively with his ability to switch on pick and rolls and to be a force on the perimeter as much as he is in the paint. The Magic love that versatility from him. And so for now, they're willing to trade off some of the shot blocking in order to have that. It is definitely a big thing for the Orlando Magic. They've got to become a better shot blocking team. They've got to continue to defend the paint at a high level. And it's a little bit of a risk reward there, because if you don't have someone who can can erase those mistakes and make those plays, teams do figure out a way to beat you. Granted, Cleveland didn't really, Cleveland did a little bit with Jared Allen and his size on the interior, because the Magic lacked that size to match him and really to match Evan Mobley. The too big alignment the Magic have struggled with that at times. But when Allen was out, and there's not many Jared Allens around the league, when Allen was out, the Magic were fine defensively on the interior. They were fine on the glass. They're a pretty good rebounding team, actually, by the way. And so maybe I would say this is not a myth. The Magic are not a great shot blocking team or great rim protecting team, but it's not something to be alarmed about either. And so the Magic have something to work with, mold, and grow in the same way that like their 3-point shooting can continue to mold and grow and get better. This is the weak spot in the Magic's vaunted defense, though. They are not a great rim protecting team. That is the one area, if you can get in the paint, you can score on them. Not easily, because Wendell Carter is still pretty good positionally, but it is a concern as the team starts to play at higher and higher and higher levels. The truth is, there's a lot of things that, especially the national media, don't know about this Magic team because they don't watch them. They don't see them every day like we do. And this Magic team has a lot working for them. We'll get into a lot more about this throughout the course of the week. And as we get ready and prepared for the season, we'll get into more and more of this. But the truth is, so many of the Magic's issues and so many of the Magic's problems are solved, in my opinion, with experience, with the team getting better, becoming more mature, making the right plays, making the right passes, making the right decisions in ways that younger players don't. The experience is going to matter, and I think it's going to make this Magic team a whole lot better, and we will bust some of these myths over the course of the season. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. Subscribe to the podcast and Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the Phone podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. I do have a survey up right now for non-subscribers and subscribers alike. to just get a better sense of what you want from me from a subscription service. So please, if you would answer that, you can find that pinned to my profile page on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. And as always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done listening to me, be sure to check out Locked On NBA, where the season never ends, providing national expertise with a local perspective. You can find the link to Locked On NBA in the description, so you don't need to search. It's all part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank you for those of you listening on your Labor Day weekend. I hope everyone has a relaxing and great Labor Day weekend. We'll be back later in the week. We're officially 1 month away from the start of training camp. So we're going to get into some player outlooks and player profiles. We're going to start looking ahead to the season, plus do a whole lot more. There's still a lot to get to as our offseason winds down, as we get ready for the start of the Orlando Magic's regular season and the start of training camp here at the beginning of next month. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.